I'm Court Lalonde from Carpool Gaming, and this is Bright Memory Infinite on the Xbox Series X in review.
No power greater than X.
Bright Memory Infinite isn't a long game, but what it lacks in length, it made up in gameplay. Originally released in 2019 by FYQD Studios and called Bright Memory Chapter 1 for the PC, FYQD Studio is a one-developer studio, so I'm going to be taking that into consideration for my review. It's a first-person shooter with sword combat intertwined along with time travel and big boss fights. At first, I thought the game didn't know what it wanted to be, but as I continued to play the game, I could see the developer's vision. You follow the main character Shelia as she tries to prevent the SAI from getting an ancient power that can wake the dead. Shelia also has a power to pull enemies into her and raise them in the air, and then you can take your sword or shoot them with a gun. That allows for a lot of combos. It takes place in a cloud city high above the Arctic. For a one-developer studio, I will say I was impressed. I played it on my Xbox Series X at 4K, 60 frames per second, and did notice frame rate dips, but it only happened when there was just too much going on the screen. So you had just too many enemies. So when I was like doing pulls or trying to do some combos, I noticed a little bit of frame rate dip. As you travel down broken down roads towards your next objective, you can be caught off guard on how well the environment looks, with some dynamic lighting and rich textures. But it uses dark palettes throughout the game, and I sometimes found enemies blended in, mainly the SAI enemies, which are the military enemies, but when you travel back in time, they turn into these like samurai knights looking characters, and they have beautiful color and they just pop. It was almost more fun playing when you travel back in time. The boss design is where the game shines, with rich textures and interesting design choices. The bosses are the hardest challenge in the game, as they should be. No two boss looks the same, and the rich detail on each was very well appreciated. The audio didn't stand out at all, and I even tried wearing my headset to try and get extra immersion with the Dolby Atmos from the Xbox Series X, and it really didn't do much for me. I felt it was very lacking in the audio department. You have all these great environmental choices like wind and rain and lightning going on, yet they didn't use it to add extra immersion with the sound. The shooter aspect of the game is very well done, and there's a lot of variety of guns to choose from with your snipers and then your close range and your machine guns, and there's different ammo types to vanquish your foes. The sword melee combat is what I found I used the most, along with stopping time ability. I did notice it was far too easy to just block with your sword, and then you end up like cheesing all the bosses or cheesing any of the main characters because you can just block, attack, and it really brought the difficulty level down, which is not that bad for me as I play most games on easy. The traversal in the game at times felt forced to prolong the game or just to show off what the developer can do. I really do feel that this game was just more of a piece for the developer to say, here's what I can do. Somebody hire me or somebody give me more money to make an amazing, bigger game. There is an upgrade tree, but I didn't feel you needed to use it to progress in the game. At the very beginning of the game, as I've played many, many games, I was using the upgrade tree and I was giving myself extra pointing the abilities and giving myself all these extra powers, but I never ended up using them. And then by the end of the game, I didn't even use the ability points that I'd picked up. There are some instances in the game which you would think that you can interact with the environment or even swim, but it never seems to let you or just happen. You just either go over the tree or under the tree. It felt forced. They do introduce a grapple and even a car at some parts of the game. The grapple I found to be very useful, but the car didn't seem to fit the narrative, and it just didn't. I didn't understand why they introduced the car. There are portions of the game which require stealth, but there's no places to hide, and the stealth just doesn't make any sense. They leave you with a meat cleaver and take away your weapon for some reason, and then you have to follow these characters around and try and stealth kill them. But you can actually just go through and kill them anyways, and which was just easier to get through the levels. And then at the same point, they take away your weapon, and then you kill these guys, and then you can't pick up their weapon. The whole stealth portion was just maybe just a, here's what I can do. I really do feel this game was this is what I can do. Somebody give me more money to make a bigger game. It took me under just 2 hours to finish the game, but I like my time I spent with it. Being a parent, I don't always get time to play these 10 to 15 hour games, so this was just a perfect little bite and just go in and have some fun. It was a game that tried to do different things with the combat and shooting mechanics that I felt I hadn't played before, so it was a breath of fresh air. The fact that it was made by one person it went a long way in my review, and I can't believe what this developer was able to accomplish. I wouldn't call this an excellent game or a great game, but I'd just call it a good game. it does make me want to keep an eye out for what the developer could do next. My recommendation on buying this game, it's totally up to you. If you got the time, go out and buy it. But I would recommend to just wait for it to possibly come to Game Pass or PlayStation Plus or just go on sale. It's just a tough purchase when it's just under 2 hours to play. And you know what? It's a great experience, but I don't know if it's worth buying it right out of the box.